am Lady Charmaine, and my guest today is an actor, poet, and television host. He was named one of Essence Magazine Breakout Stars in 2010, and he has starred in movies like For Colored Girls, Middle of Nowhere, and the summer hit Sparkle, starring the late Whitney Houston. And he's here today to talk about his new role as the 2013 ambassador of the American Black Film Festival being held in Miami Beach in June. Help me welcome Mr. Omari Hardwick to the show. How you doing, Omari, and welcome to the show.
I'm good, and thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Thanks for the welcome.
Oh, you are so welcome. Now, you are doing something real big in 2013. You are the ambassador of the 2013 American Black Film Festival. First, can you tell us about the film festival and the mission behind the festival?
Yes, this, the mission of ABFF, the legendary festival brought to us by the creative genius of Jeff Friday and Byron Lewis and Warrington Hudlin, is a film festival that started out, of course, in Acapulco, and what it became, or what it started out as, was just an opportunity, a platform for African American filmmakers and African American actors and producers, the likes, to have their film seen, and actually to push the envelope of what Hollywood was considering quality cinema by sort of indoctrinating our film and our story within that same diaspora that for a long time was just dominated, of course, by white cinema, for lack of a better term. So it's now, of course, 17th annual, and it's stretched now to Miami, which happened a long time ago. And it's a beautiful thing where you get folks from Chicago, Atlanta, New York, and, of course, the natives of Miami and other cities and other places, respectively. Of course, people will even come from out of the country. And we just jam out for a week, and we celebrate shorts, and we celebrate feature lengths, and we have other, this year, of course, being the ambassador in Miami is a real big deal for me because, Charmaine, I actually work, for the most part, I dominate in terms of my travel. I dominate traveling to New York and to Miami and to D.C. for community outreach programs. And the one in Miami that I'm involved with is the Omari Hardwick Blue Apple Poetry Network, where I help kids kind of get things off their chest via poetry that come from the inner city areas of Broward County and of Dade County. So it's a really big thing for me this year because I can actually sort of incorporate that and get the kids involved in the ABFF festival this year, which I'm really, really excited about. So we are just trying to promote black art, really, just trying to promote black art and quality black art.
And speaking of quality black art, for those who are listening and they might say, I have a film, and I think it should be seen, how can they submit their films or their projects to the American Black Film Festival?
So they would submit, it's filmlife.com. That's the company, Film Life. I think that's the website, if I'm not mistaken. Headed, of course, by Jeff Friday, the company, and Ghana Wilson is one of the board members who you could submit to. That's Ghana Wilson, and she is the one, along with a team of 5 other people, who accept the submissions for ABFF. So Film Life is what they will go to, and of course, you can submit as early as now, as early as maybe a month ago, 2 months ago. And as late as March, if I'm not mistaken, is when the submissions are last accepted.
Okay, now with you being an actor and a poet, how did you become the ambassador for the American Black Film Festival?
I guess by just that, being whatever it means to humbly, be Omari, and whatever mom and pops have created, and environments and friends and all of those experiences that I've had have also helped to create inside of me, which is that range of artists. It's hard for me to call myself an actor because I tend to liken myself more to being an artist who is a poet, who happens to be able to act, or I guess do that well enough to be able to quit the day job and take that on. But Jeff Friday was a very, very big fan of that artist in me, and not necessarily the actor alone, but the artist, and more appreciatively on my part, the man that he just saw me becoming, and I guess speaks to who he is as well. Game recognizes game. So I'm following the great recent ambassadors of Idris Elba from London, Tracy Ellis Ross, and you know, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the surrogate creator as well. The surrogate creator, of course, is the legendary esteemed Robert Townsend, and he is extremely involved, of course, still, and will always be in ABFF. So he and Jeff Friday and many other people have definitely directly endorsed me being able to carry that mantle of ambassador, and I don't take it lightly. So I guess just all of the things that were in me allowed me to get that opportunity.
And speaking of poetry, because you are truly an artist, how long have you been writing poetry? Did you start off as a young man? And what kind of outlet was poetry for you?
I was just trying to get a girl, Lady Charmaine. I was just trying to get a girl, man. I mean, let's keep it gutter. I was trying to get a little chickie poo.
I was not expecting that. Okay.
That's it. And so I was like, I ain't going to make it deeper than that. I was like, well, shoot, I like her. And, and so one day I picked up the pen and I started writing and found out years later that my father sort of had a talent at it as well. And so, you never really know when you start doing things when we're young who is connected to, whether it's a great-grandparent or aunt or uncle, or if you directly maybe get it from the gene pool of mom and pops. But writing just kind of came easy to me once I started. But I think I was like 14 years old, the first time I found or married pen to paper. I was like 14 years old and just about liking a girl, really.
Wow. And your poetry truly has opened doors because you were also the host of Verses and Flow. How did that come about? Did they see you somewhere and they said that brother got a flow to him and we got a show for him? How did that come about?
Yeah, I think that's a good question because I'm still not quite certain on the exact way it came about because I know loosely that, the team at Walton Isaacson, whose client is Lexus, of course, who engineers the show, they knew of me as a poet, many of the team, Aaron Walton himself, and Aiko Broyard and Don Cummings and Shauna Williams. They all knew of me as a poet. But what happened was Lavetta Futrell, who's a very dear friend and a person who also works at the ad agency. Lavetta went to Keith Robinson, who's a really good friend of mine, from Dreamgirls, and we went to University of Georgia together. And she said, "What do you think about Omari hosting?" And lo and behold, I found out that when Hill Harper, who's a friend as well, was hosting the year prior, that there was obviously interest in me actually coming on as a poet, but that there was also, and Keith Robinson let me know this along with Lavetta, there was interest in me also hosting. And so, once Hill put in his time, next up, I guess, was me. And so I had to go through a series of sit-downs, so to speak, with the team of Walton Isaacson and Lexus. And the rest is, as they say, history.
Wow. Because you're more of a triple threat in this business. Okay, one, you're a poet. You're a wonderful actor on top of that. And you're very handsome because... You're welcome. Essence.com selected you as Eye Candy of the Week. How does it feel to be considered a sex symbol? Do you consider yourself a sex symbol?
I don't, because I wake up with myself every morning and I deal with all of the dirty things that come with Omari, including the dirty drawers. Like it's hard to consider yourself ever a sex symbol, man. Anybody that says yes to that, there's something wrong with them. But what I do consider is the reverse reality, and that could be that I could be the ugly bubbly list, and I'm glad that I'm not on that list.
True.
You could be the hardest person to look at of the month, and so I think the eye candy definitely trumps that one, and that's cool with me.
I know that's right. I want to talk about a new film that you're in entitled Middle of Nowhere. Can you kind of tell us about that film?
Yeah, Middle of Nowhere. It's a film that really. It really, it's my sophomore project actually with Ava DuVernay, and it really caught its legs and now is running into other stratospheres. Once we made it to Sundance, what the film is about is it's a love story, and it's about a young couple married, happily married, but unbeknownst to the wife involved, there was some criminal activities that that the now incarcerated lead male character that I play is now having to deal with. She's having to deal with the ramifications of what he's done. He's having to deal with the same thing. And so now there's this love that they're trying to maintain, or a marriage, I should say, that they're trying to sustain while being locked away from each other. And they're both essentially, he's literally incarcerated. She's figuratively incarcerated. And then she meets, a guy on the outside, a free guy, and she's having to make a decision while in the middle of nowhere. And you get, Lorraine Toussaint playing her mother, and Edwina Finley, and all of these different participants in her middle of nowhere as she tries to figure out whether to remain loyal to this incarcerated husband of hers or whether to move on with her life. And so it garnered Ava a win of first African American (parentheses first black) woman to win, first woman and first black to win Best Director at Sundance. And then ever since that, we've met similar success in Toronto for its film festival and many other festivals along the way. So it's just, it's been a movie that was definitely the little train that not only could, but that has.
Wow. And, that's a story of a lot of people, though. I know I had an aunt, my uncle, he was in prison for 25 years, and she stayed. She stayed with him until he came out, and so he's been out now for about 6 years. But that's a decision that a lot of people have to make,
So true.
And
so true.
Through that, there's so many temptations, but, they had 3 kids, and they made it. Kids are in college and graduated from college and doing well. But I want to talk about the wonderful summer hit Sparkle. You had the awesome opportunity to perform with Whitney Houston, of course, in her last film. No one expected that to be her last film. I'm sure that was a shock to all of you, because I'm
Absolutely.
sure. Yeah, so, but for you, what was your experience like? You probably asked this question a million times, but we're going to ask it again. What was your experience like? One more again. To work with the late Whitney Houston and just her vibrant spirit.
It was, I coming off of having worked with Janet, Charmaine right before, 2 years before, I had already gone through that moment of, okay, this is somebody that you take the kid in you, and you know that you looked up to that person and you listened to their music and you jammed out and rocked out like everybody. And then that kid one day gets cast to play alongside, particularly in that movie, because I was directly across from Janet, alongside this person. You're reminding yourself that you are anointed and ordained by God to be in this position. So you can't overindulge in the fact that it's Whitney or Janet, because the reality is, business-wise, you belong there as much as they do, quite obviously, if you got selected. So you kind of, the Janet thing helped me out, if that makes sense, because having worked with Janet, who was such a beautiful person more than anything, it sort of helped me going into the experience with Whitney. So what I was able to get is not necessarily having worked with this person who was the actress or the singer. I was working with a mentor, in my opinion. She immediately went in, along with Deborah Martin Chase, her producing partner, and they went in on me in terms of what they expected from me. We had a great talk one night at a jazz spot. This is pre-production before the movie began, and Whitney actually imparted her opinions and her wisdom and what she thought, and when I was cast, what she saw, where she sees the next 10 years of my career going, and what she expected, and kind of went at me, like the sister from New Jersey that she is, if you catch my drift.
Yeah, I do.
So I got that, and then of course, that led to just some of the most lighthearted, fun exchanges that I've ever had with another actress, and that was that way because everybody was in the same exchange. It was an exchange of relativity, because if you were Jordan, maybe your exchange was that of daughter to mother. If you were Tika and Carmen, maybe it was more like a niece. If you were Derek and I, and Mike Epps, we looked at her as this auntie. So everybody had their own experiences, but the experience was the same, and that was, we found this real beautiful person that you could put your finger now on why she had been blessed by God the way she had, because she was just so grounded, so beautiful. Obviously, everybody talks about the voice, but she was silly, funny. We went to Falcons games when they played Detroit Lions. We cheered for the Falcons when, of course, she's at the moment living in Atlanta. I'm from Atlanta, so we're the only ones. We're getting booed by the rest of the booth because we're cheering for the Falcons. So, we just had a lot of real moments, and that's what I'll always remember. more so than what was being directed by Salim and Mara in terms of the work. I just really remember the real moments that we had as people with us and with her, this legend.
Wow. What a great story. I'm glad you shared that part of your story with us. And speaking of Janet Jackson, you said something that I absolutely loved, which you likened it to how I tell people, because I interview a lot of people with my show because I've been in the business with like 25 years. And to me,
look at you, girl. You better brush your shoulders off. You better be dusting them off right now.
Well, but no, God is good because, I've interviewed so many people. And like you mentioned something about coming off the heels of working with Janet. And I tell people all the time, the reason why I have no big eyes and little U's, because I used to talk to Janet's brother, Michael. And after you've talked to the biggest pop star, anybody else for me, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, after you talked to Michael Jackson and he would call your house, anybody else.
You like Omari who? You like, I got to interview this Negro? Okay, all right.
So don't nobody else trump Michael.
At 1 o'clock, pick up the phone. Yeah, I hear you.
You know what I mean? So I understood when you make that statement, I totally understood. So that's how I am when I meet people, because after that, it's like, okay, and who else? But
Exactly.
You said something that I really liked. You said how you admired Janet. You know, everybody wished that Janet was their girlfriend growing up. But
That's
you
right.
had the opportunity to play a man that was playing opposite of Janet as her husband and love interest in a movie. What was that like? Not everybody get that opportunity.
No, and of course, because of, as you know and as you've stated, and obviously in part, as we talked about, being major reasons that I was selected to be the ambassador of ABFF is the artist in Omari that came in expecting certain things from Janet. So, you know, what woman doesn't want a man to direct?
All right.
What woman doesn't want a man to be decisive and to be strong? And so, yeah, I came in as that guy of like, you know, she's quiet, she does her thing. You know that there's this rambunctiously passionate woman who reveals a lot on stage, but when she comes off stage, she goes very quiet. She becomes demure. You got to really like listen to get what she's even feeling or thinking. And so I came in and I needed relationship because I don't know how to act. I really don't. You know, I'm an actor and an artist, but to act is to act badly. So the only thing I know how to do is to exist. So my thought was, we can't paint the truth of a marriage if I don't get to know the person Janet Jackson. So Tyler sort of orchestrated that, and he trusted me. And Susan Batson, the legendary coach of Janet, by maybe day 3 was like, I really trust you. And she kind of whispered to me, you know, you almost have to have permission to speak to Janet in a particular way while working with her because she is so protected, quote unquote. You understand? So we were able to get to a place where we talked about life, Charmaine, and we talked about death. And, you know, my father had been shot during that time. He survived, praise God, but he had been shot. My uncle was murdered a year before that, my dad's baby brother, true story, and then Janet's brother, of course, and Michael. So we almost talked death to get to life, if that makes sense. And we got to know each other as Omari and as Janet, and I gave her this beautiful gift that, you know, a painting of sort of an abstract painting of who I think she really is underneath all of that, and that was her rap gift. And she then invited me and Michael Ealy and the rest of the cast to come support her when she was in her show a year after we did For Color Girls. So we all went out to Universal City Walk and supported her. And, you know, as soon as I saw her, Omari. So, you know, I just always remember that minus us getting to that place, or short of us getting to that place of getting to know Janet and Omari, the people, I wouldn't have that opportunity now to be called friend by her or for me to call her friend. So I'm thankful that she was open to me and me getting to know the woman.
I'm glad you guys are able to connect on some level, like you said, going from death to life, but that's where you both were able to connect with, and then you were able to move, and that relationship was able to blossom. And speaking of your role in For Colored Girls, we all remember that role. Did you ever expect to play a role of a gentleman that was going to shock us all and end up being married and homosexual, as they call on the DL? Do people still equate you to that character?
No, I didn't. I never thought any way or the other. You know, I think, I think, you know, I come obviously from a culture, as you do, where we know that there's certain things that other cultures can be a part of or can do as actors or as artists in terms of doing it, in terms of representing a character like that. That there's never any controversy or any backlash when they do it versus maybe if people in our culture do it, just because of cultural stereotypes and cultural boxing that we as a people do. So I was aware of that, because I can't be a black man and not be aware of the limited scope that we have on certain things in life. But as an artist, I kind of just drive the car down whatever street you ask me to drive it down. So I never started out and turned the ignition, Charmaine, on this desire to be a storyteller. I never turned the ignition and sort of, minus reflecting my grandparents in a horrible way, where it's just a despicable character that has no redeeming value or quality, I'm going to do the part. Whether it's a homosexual character, whether it's a heterosexual character, whether it's somebody that shoots a kid, as I did in Gridiron Gang, whether it's somebody trying to leave the drug game like I did at Shavu and Next Day Air, whether it's alongside Costner saluting the world of the Coast Guardsman as a Coast Guardsman. The reality is I'll drive down whatever street, to me, is a street that needs to be revealed and exposed, and the world needs to know that street exists. And so I never really judge it any way or the other. I just try to, do whatever Omari can do for the character.
Yeah, and it's art to you, and so that's a great way to look at it. You are considered a lot of women's husbands. I put you up on Facebook just to advertise you were coming on the show, and people are like, "That's my baby daddy. That's my husband in my mind." So, do you know you are married to so many people? I had no idea how many wives you had and how many baby mamas you had.
I didn't know either. Girl, you better give me the memo. Shoot, before the government come looking for me, Uncle Sam, they don't play.
I know that's right. And child support. But you were also called in 2010 Essence Magazine Breakout Star. Did you even expect to get that title from Essence Magazine as a breakout star that's coming? And you are, because you're a star and your light is shining and everybody see it, and God is opening up so many doors for you. Did you expect? Did you expect that from them? Charmaine. Oh, you're welcome. Did you expect to be called a breakout star? It was just 2 years ago. Wasn't that long ago?
Well, it's funny because I called you, obviously today and you don't know this, but I called you obviously today. But what wasn't obvious to you is that before I called, there was an email that was sent to me, and it was BET and an outlet from BET, adding me to that list. And so it's now 2 years later, and it's Breakout Stars of 2012. And, I was most happy about Emma Yahtzee, who plays, of course, Ruby in Middle of Nowhere, who's a dear friend of mine, being on that list, because perhaps, I am aware that in 2012, Essence Magazine, coined me that and added me to that list. And then this year you get myself and the very talented Nicole Bahari, and we both are being honored this year in a film festival at the end of January, early February. So there's been moments where the recognition and awards and recognition are funny, because all they really do is collect dust. You know what I mean? The recognition and the award collects dust. What's most important is that you just continue to remain consistent. And I think all of us that grew up liking particular people that we like, whether it was somebody that we read the books of or somebody that we watched, in the NBA or listened to musically, I think we all can agree that the one thing we look for is consistency. So if Essence honored me with that, and then today, right before calling you, Charmaine, BET honors me with the same thing, then what makes me most happy is that there's a consistency that's coming, forth out of my work. And I think that's a good thing. I think I only really want to be consistent, but I'm most excited about the opportunities for the new people that are being considered the breakout of whatever, they're breaking out of. And so Essence has been very good to me, and they've often created such platforms for other actors as well and called them Breakout Kings or Breakout Stars of that year. And so if we're Breakout Kings and Queens and it's 2012 and I'm still being told by you that I'm considered that, then I'll take it.
Well, I want to be one of the first to say congratulations.
Well, thank you.
You are so welcome.
Thank you, absolutely. Now I just want the work to reflect it. You feel me?
Yeah, I got you.
You can be the breakout star you want, but if them doggone checks ain't coming off and you tell the
your
story
bank
that
account.
you want to tell, shoot, man.
I know that's right.
Coming.
I know that's right. So what new projects can we expect to see from you in 2013?
So 2013, we got I did a film with Shanola Hampton, Alimu Nelson, Michael Beach, directed by Charles Murray, and it's called Things Never Said. Really, really cool, great piece about me being a poet. So you'll enjoy that because I'm actually playing a poet in that. And Shanola Hampton, who's on the show Shameless, she's playing a poetess, and that's coming out. And then there's a movie called Last Letter with Lynn Whitfield playing my mother, Gary Dodan, Sharon Lill, Richard T. Jones, and that as well will come out in 2013, called The Last Letter. And then Being Mary Jane is, this really great show, created by Mara Brock Akil, the writer of this version of Sparkle, and the pilot, at least, and many other episodes will be directed and handled by Salim Akil, her husband and business partner. And so it stars Gabby Union and Margaret Avery and Richard Roundtree and Lisa Velez and myself, and just some really, really good people that I'm really looking forward to working with. Robin Lee, who we all remember from the movie Have Plenty, who hasn't worked enough to me. She's playing my wife, and then, of course, we'll see what Gabby Union and I play to each other. But that is a series that will be on BT, and I will go to Atlanta to start work on that at the end of January. So, and then, obviously, in Miami, we'll all hang out at ABFF and whatever else is coming in between that time. I got a movie with Vera Farmiga and Elle Fanning, Dakota's baby sister, Pure Life, which I don't know when that'll begin, but pre-production has been rumored and talked about. And I just completed a movie called Reach Me with Kira Sedgwick, Sly Stallone, Kelsey Grammer, Tom Sizemore, David O'Hara, Kevin Connolly, David Oyelowo, Tom Berenger. What a crazy, crazy cast. And it's directed by John Herzfeld. So, and I'm in that as well. So Reach Me, I just ended a week ago.
I think they named you right as Breakout Star because you just ran down your resume of what's coming out in 2013. I do believe they called it Omari. You are definitely a Breakout Star for 2013, although 2012. But I mean, to have that type of resume. And I ask people that question a lot on the show, and I have not heard anybody run down a resume like you just have.
Well, I have been able to work. I have definitely been able to work. I mean, there's obviously, and I'm I don't know what your sign is, Charmaine, but I'm a Capricorn. So, one mountain to me only means that there's two more ahead of me. So I'm not real big on resting on the laurels. I'm obviously, somebody that's extremely appreciative for what's been given to me and us and what I've been blessed to be able to taste in this 9-year working, I guess I should say career now. I didn't say it for a while, but this 9-year working career. But I definitely always am looking for, the athlete in me is always looking for the next touchdown. Even if it's just the journey even if it's just the journey to get to the next touchdown. So there's some roles out there that I want to do. There's some stories I want to tell. I want to start to produce more and try to, get my hands more in involved with the creation of a story and maybe, just create doors to open that are a little bit bigger when you do that than when you're just the actor. An actor is a limited life. So I'm trying to get over there in that world where we can actually help other actors get jobs that are in my position that I was in 5 years ago.
That's good. Yeah, I was listening to you before you go. I noticed that life is kind of like a theme that's around you, dealing with Life Films, who's putting on this ABFF. And then you say you're in a film called Pure Life. And then you also have a company called Brave Life Films.
Look at that, Charmaine. You're a poet. Look at you. You're a poet.
And
true.
Yeah, and so I see that that's a whole theme that's around you when you were talking about not only being an actor but also being a producer. So you're going to do that through your Brave Life Films?
Yeah, absolutely. That's it. That's the plan, and and of course can join or join powers with other people that have production companies as well. I'm a big fan of Lorenz Tate, and I think that he doesn't work enough, and I think he's, I'm a fan of many of our generation and my peers, but he in particular, to me, set a standard in terms of being an actor who was an artist and it wasn't really acting, but really bringing this different kind of thing to the table. And I believe most of anything he was in, if not everything. And I was really, really proud of where life again took me when I got close to him. Not just became an acquaintance, but actually grew to this relationship that we now consider each other brothers and very, very close friends. And so he and I have been speaking about sort of joining powers and creating a project together because, you know, I just think, and I'm sure I speak for you and many of your listeners and your fans, but, you know, Lorenz Tate and a lot of other people, we got some bad actors and bad artists out there, bad isn't good, that should definitely be getting more opportunities than they've gotten. Mm-hmm. And I just don't want to ever forget those people. So I'm trying to actually work with many of them as well through Brave Life and through their companies.
Well, keep your heart right, and God is definitely going to open it up because it sounds like your heart is pure, that you really do want to help people. And because you do have that heart, God is going to open up those doors for you to do that.
I appreciate it.
So
I appreciate it. I'll try to keep my fist down, you know, because this business will make you put your fist up. You know that, Charmaine.
Yes, I do.
It'll make you put your fist up. You know what I mean? It make you like, yeah, the heart is pure, but don't cross me wrong.
Right.
Don't cross me wrong. So
I understand?
It's been a beautiful walk, but you know, because you're in that same business of journalism where people cross wrong and you didn't mean to be crossed wrong, and so the end result becomes something that you didn't necessarily sign up for. But as long as, you know, we can get to a place where I think we accept the non-crab in the barrel mentality, and we eliminate that and we start to think more about there's a lot of us that can eat from the pie, we can get back to a place where people are all sort of celebrating at the end of the day together instead of this uber competitive nature that has people trying to cut each other's throats. I'm not real down with that.
Oh, boy, you just said everything in a nutshell. I could just tell you to preach on without saying much. That was awesome. I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today. And I want to remind everyone to make sure you check out the American Black Film Festival. It's going to be in Miami Beach in June from the 19th to the 23rd. So we want to make sure you go online and definitely check that out. It's abff.org. I think it's abff. I don't want to get it wrong. .org or .com. Let me get my notes here. And because I don't want to get
which one is it?
It's avff.com. There you go. avff.com. So make sure you go online. Also, if you want to also submission of narratives is March 1st, 2011. The deadline, or the documentaries is March 8th. Go to abff.com/festival and submit your films. Again, thank you so much, Omari. We'd love to have you back on the show.
Thank you, Charmaine.
With all your 15 projects.
I apologize for standing you up on that date last time. I know I stood you up. My bad.
I forgive you, Omari. You're forgiven. And we got to have you back in 2013, okay, for all 15 shows you got coming up.
For sure. Done.
Okay.
That's done. All good.
Okay, love you, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for everything. And keep it rocking, Charmaine.
Thank
Peace.
you.